morning, students. Once again, I welcome you, and in a series of lecture, I have come up with a new concept and very important concept related with the electrics. So once again, I repeat, my basic objective of creating these lectures is to focus on the NCI, point to point, in sequence, covering every point of the NCRT and giving a student an idea of the concept and explaining each and every point so that students take advantage of this lockdown period and don't feel any anxiety about the studies. So I thank you all for nice response of my previous videos. To remain in touch, subscribe my channel, like my videos and share with your friends and peers. So let us continue. So today's topic is Gauss law. This is very important. In this chapter, Gauss law is very important, and I will not start with the statement of the Gauss law. I will give statement at last. So I start with developing the content. So get ready with your notebook and pen. Parallel, you try to note down, make the figures so that you feel that you are in a real classroom. So let us start considering a total flux through a sphere of radius r. This sphere on your screen, you can see this is the sphere, and this is the radius r. So I have selected a sphere of radius r. Now let us assume a single charge q or many charges. Both the cases are placed inside the, if single charge we place it at the center, and multiple charges can be placed anywhere inside the sphere. So this single q is for single charge, and summation q is for summation of algebraic sum of all the charges present inside the sphere, that is closed surface. Gauss law deals with the closed surface. So here, suppose single charge small q is placed at the center. So see on the screen, this we have placed this charge at the center, small q. Now what will be the result? We know charges produce electric field, and electric fields are represented by electric field lines. So we know this. Electric field lines will emerge from Q and cross the sphere and leave the sphere in outward direction, because this Q is positive charge. So let us divide the surface of this sphere into many infinitely small area elements. In my previous lecture, we have gone through the steps of calculating the electric flux. We have applied there, now we are applying again. that constant. So let us divide this sphere into small area elements. This yellow one. See, this yellow one is the small area. We can call it ds or delta s on the surface of the sphere, and subtending this delta omega angle at the center of the sphere where charge q is placed. This angle delta omega, solid angle. This area element, this area element subtends solid angle. So you think that what is the shape of this area element? This is conical somehow. This is conical, like cone is, and point of the cone is placed at the center, and topmost surface of the cone is placed on the surface of the sphere. This is the situation here. So we have chosen a small element. Now this dotted line represents the radius r. Now this is the perpendicular at the surface, and electric lines emerge from the charge placed at the center will leave the surface perpendicularly. So you can take this arrow in this way also. This is the direction of electric field. And you know a small unit vector will also be in this direction. And this is perpendicular to the surface, this r cap. Therefore area vector ds is perpendicular to this area. Now the flux through this small area element having area delta S. So delta phi flux linked with this small area element will be scalar product of electric field intensity and the area vector E dot ds. And this is equal to, what is E at this point? We know this charge q is at the center and this area element is at r distance from the center. So here magnitude of electric field will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. We know this, the field produced by the point charge. And what is the direction of electric field? It is denoted by r cap. So we have attached here r cap. So this whole 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square r cap is vector E dot ds. So I think this is clear to you. The next step, the area element delta s and r cap have the same direction. We know this because in case of a sphere electric fields will emerge. Electric field lines are always perpendicular, and perpendicular drawn at this point will also be in the direction of electric field. Area vector will be in direction of electric field. Unit vector drawn in the direction of electric field is r cap. Unit vector drawn in the direction of electric field is r cap. So here r cap and E are parallel. Theta is 0. So we know E s is E s cos theta, but cos theta will become 1 because theta is 0. Simply we are having electric flux delta phi is equal to scalar product E dot ds is equal to 1 by 4 pi r square q by r square delta s. Because this r cap and delta s, their scalar product will be delta s. Because magnitude of r is 1. So here is the conclusion that flux related with this small element delta phi has come out to be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square delta s. What next? So what will be the total flux? Total flux of a sphere. Total flux of the sphere. For this we have to add up all such delta phi's related with all delta s. So we have to add up. So we add, this is the formula, total flux will be all delta s summation of electric flux corresponding to all delta s, and one delta phi is 1 by, now flux related with one element is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square delta s, and summation of all such delta phi's for all delta s. This is the meaning of this statement. Now this 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square is common. So what remains inside the summation? Summation of all delta s. This means summation of all delta s means total area s. Total area of the sphere. And total area of the sphere will be 4 pi r square. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square into 4 pi r square. Now see, 4 pi cancels. R square cancels. We are having only epsilon naught left with us. And in numerator q. So phi flux related with the total surface is q by epsilon naught is equal to, if single charge is inside the closed surface, if many charges are present inside the closed surface, then summation, algebraic sum of the charges will be taken here. Summation q by epsilon naught. This is the statement of Gauss law. This is mathematical statement. This all we have discussed in presence of either air or vacuum, no air, that is vacuum. So now we can state the Gauss law. According to Gauss law, total flux related with the closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught of total sum of the charges present inside the closed surface. This is the statement of the Gauss law. Now, more facts about Gauss law. What are those? The laws implies the total electric flux through a closed surface is zero if no charge is enclosed by the surface. What is the meaning of this law? If there is no charge inside the closed surface, flux will be zero. Now see, in this statement, if Q or summation Q is zero, then pi is zero, flux is zero. This is very important. If there is no charge inside the closed surface, flux is zero. Whatever the charge, if it is outside the surface, flux is not linked with the surface. Flux is only linked with the closed surface when there is some net charge inside the closed surface. Gauss law is related with the closed surface and flux. It gives the relationship between flux and the charge. If there is no charge inside the surface, or if summation or net charge, or you can say algebraic sum of the charges is zero, flux is zero. Inside, I am talking about inside, charge is present inside. Why? Because Gauss law phi is equal to q by epsilon naught is equal to summation q by epsilon naught. Both are zero, q or summation q zero. It means pi. It means phi is zero. This is Gauss law blinking on the screen. Now, let us take a uniform electric field E. See, what are the properties of a uniform electric field? Electric field lines are parallel. I repeat again. See, electric field lines are parallel. This is uniform electric field. I place a cylinder in this uniform electric field. So I have placed a cylinder in uniform electric field. Now, this is the first phase of the cylinder, circular in nature, in shape, and this is second phase of the cylinder. This is also circular, and this is third phase of the cylinder, which is curved. So cylinder has two plane surfaces, they are circular, and one curved surface, number 3. This number 3 is curved surface. Number 1 is plane surface, but shape is circular. Number 2 is plane surface, but shape is circular. So this cylinder is placed in the uniform electric field. Axis of the cylinder is parallel to the uniform electric field. Now see, at this surface, I repeat again, focus on the cursor here. I have shown the direction of electric field at this face. 1. They are entering. Electric field is inward at this surface. Whereas electric field is inward at this surface. Whereas at surface number 2, electric field is outward. Concentrate these 2 points, 2 surfaces. Here electric field is inward to the surface, perpendicularly inward. Here electric field is perpendicularly outward. Now here I draw area vector ds1. You know area vector is always perpendicular outward. So here focus on this point, area vector ds1. Here focus on this point, area vector ds2 outward. At this surface, third surface, I draw again. See, ds3 green vector is outward to the curved surface, but at this surface, electric field lines are along this black arrow. So I have drawn these vectors, area vectors, to give you the idea about the angle between ds and e, because that angle matters. Flux is E ds cos theta or E delta S cos theta. That theta plays major role, and we know when theta is 0, flux is maximum. When theta is 90, flux is 0. Or if theta is greater than 90, flux minus. We know this. See on the screen. Here, where my cursor is there, here where my cursor, see this theta is 0 because ds2 and electric field vectors are in same direction, theta is 0. But at this surface, see ds1 is outward and electric field is inward. So theta is 180 degree. See this theta 180 degree. What about the third phase? Theta 90. See ds3 is in green direction, direction of green vector, and this is E vector, electric field vector. They are making 90 degree. So this is the description of the all parameters which are required to calculate the electric flux. When object is placed in uniform electric field, closed surface is there. So what will be the net flux of this closed surface? Will be flux related with this surface 1, flux related with second surface phi 2, flux related with third surface phi 3. So total flux will be sum of the flux related with all these three surfaces. This is the net flux of this cylindrical closed surface. Now phi 3 is 0. See, this angle is theta. So there is no flux linked with this curved surface. This surface does not contribute any electric flux. Phi 3 is 0. Why? Because theta is 90. See, theta 90 blinking here corresponding to this picture, this diagram, this vector diagram. Why phi 3 is 0 clear? Here, see here where my focus, see here where my cursor is focusing, see. And this is the situation, phi 3 is 0. Next case, if we want to calculate the flux contributed by this phase, this surface, suppose this is phi 1, this surface contribute phi 1. So phi 1 will be equal to E ds cos theta, theta is 180, 180 theta is 180, so E ds cos 180 minus cos 180 minus 1 minus E S1. S1 is the area, total area of this surface. So see, blinking taking place on the screen. This is the result because theta is 180 degree. And this result corresponds to this face where my cursor is. And this is the result. This flux is contributing phi 1. This surface is contributing phi 1 flux. Next is how much flux this surface contribute. This is plus ES2. S2 is the area of this surface. Why ES2? Phi is E ds cos theta. Here theta is 0. See, compare, theta is 0. So if flux is E ds cos theta, theta is 0, cos 0, 1, flux will be E into total surface. Total surface is S2. Total surface area is S2. So now we have values of phi 1, phi 2, phi 3. We put these values, we can calculate the total flux. But one more point. These both the surfaces have same area. So S1 and S2 have same area. Now see, electric field is same, surface area is same. It means these two fluxes are equal in magnitude but sign is opposite. Therefore phi 1 is equal to minus phi 2. So we substitute value of these phi 1, phi 2 and phi 3 in this equation. What we get? The net flux is phi 1 is minus phi 2. Minus phi 2 plus phi 2. Phi 3 is 0. Again phi 2 get cancelled. Total flux is 0. Why? Why this is so? Why? Although cylinder is placed in uniform electric field and we are saying that there is no flux linked with the closed surface of the cylinder. Net flux is 0. Because see, this is the condition, because Q or summation Q is 0. Because there is no charge inside the cylinder. Initially, I have mentioned this condition that if charge is 0, flux is 0. But here, we have proved that flux is 0 because no charge is inside the cylinder. Because total charge inside the cylinder is 0. No charge is there inside the closed surface. इसके बाहर चाहे जितना भी चार्ज रख दें, अगर अंदर चार्ज नहीं है, इनसाइड में चार्ज नहीं है, there will be no flux linked with the. Now see, in this case electric field is there. It means some charges are outside the cylinder producing electric field, and this cylinder is placed in electric field, but electric field produced by the charges outside. So although this closed surface is placed in the electric field, but there is no flux linked with this closed surface because there is no charge enclosed by this surface. Remember this point. This is very important as this yellow box is highlighting. So what is the conclusion? Whenever you find that net electric flux through a closed surface is 0, it means total charge contained in the closed surface is 0. So I have applied Gauss law to show that if there is no charge inside the closed surface, flux is 0. Or if we get this result that flux is 0, it means there is no net charge inside the closed surface. Net charge. Here we are talking about net charge. Suppose two charges are present inside the surface. One is minus 5 coulomb and another is plus 5 coulomb. So net is 0. There will be no flux link with the closed surface because net charge is 0. This summation plays a role there because summation is algebraic sum of the charges. So now come to next concept, application of Gauss law. I have applied Gauss law in previous case. Now few more examples where we can apply the Gauss law. Let us see what are those examples. So let us apply Gauss law to find the electric field due to an infinitely long straight uniformly charged wire. We have uniformly long charged wire. This is positively charged. I repeat again the animation. Positively charged, positively charged wire placed vertically. So charge density is charge over length. Length of this wire is L. Unit of linear charge density is coulomb per meter. Here is a small element of length dl at point P1. Another small element dl at point P2. So P1 and P2 are two small length elements dl. We have divided this infinitely long straight wire into small length segments having length dl. Now this is the point where my cursor is. This is the point P located at r distance from this wire, that is from point O. This is the point P. At this point we have to find the electric field intensity produced by this infinitely long charged wire. I have taken charge positive at this wire. Now, next step. This is another point, again at same distance. This is another point. Now, suppose I rotate this r vector in this direction. Suppose I rotate this r vector, keeping this point fixed here. I rotate it around this wire. Suppose I rotate this, I am repeating again. Suppose I rotate this position vector about this axis around this wire. This position vector will pass through many points, 1, 2, 3, like this. What will be the effect of rotation in this direction? See, when vector rotate, it will cover some plane. This plane is now C circular. This I have rotated this vector around this wire along this axis. What is the result? This is imaginary. But this vector, when rotated in a particular plane, it sweeps some circular area. It means that field is radial, field is symmetric. One more. See here, again I draw this line from this element towards this point P, joining the elements line. Now see, this element will produce some field at point P, and direction of field will be along this line joining. We are applying Coulomb's law. This small element is having some charge. So this small charge dq, you can say dq is applying producing field at point P, and direction of that field will be this orange one. So now this small element is producing electric field at point P in this direction. So this element will also produce. Both the elements are at equidistance from the point O. See, this is the line joining this element and point P. Now there will be force of repulsion. You can see field, electric field will be in this direction. See this. Now at point P, we see there are two electric fields. What will be the net electric field? There, sum. diagonal. We draw a parallelogram over here and we can get the net electric field is E at this point. Net electric field is E at this point. So we have understood the field at point P is outward, perpendicular to the charge wire, outward at this point. If we take this point here, again here will be outward. You take any point on this line and find the electric field will be perpendicularly outward. If you take point somewhere here, this will again be outward. Some new point, consider it. Suppose this point is here, another point. This is another point. This is P dash. This point is P dash. This point is P double dash. These points are at equal distance from this wire. They will be having same electric field which P has. So this is the situation around a charged wire. Distribution of charge is linear, and this is the discussion of electric field at point P, which is at R. And we have found that this electric field is outward. It means this charged wire produces electric field at point P outward. All such we can divide this infinitely charged wire into many segments, and you will find there are pairs of the segments. Some half of the pair of the segment on upper side, half of the pair of the segment lower side, all will create some net field here, and field will be only in this direction at point P. And we know at point P there can be only one electric field, and this is proved here that at point is only one and one there is unique electric field. Although there are number of such small elements on this line charge, but what is the ultimate result? There is a unique field at point P. There cannot be two fields, and that unique field is capital E outward because this charge is positive. So to calculate the field, imagine a cylindrical Gaussian surface. Now see, this is the point P. There will be many such disks over this line. So visualize it like that. If you are placing many coins of same diameter one over another, you will get a cylinder. So here symmetry of this charge distribution is cylindrical in nature. Cylindrical in nature. So to find the electric field at point P, we are applying Gauss law. This is same infinitely long charge wire I have placed again here. At which point? At this point, P point, we have to find electric field. This is, we have already calculated, or say this is we have already understood through vector diagram. But what will be the scalar value? What will be the magnitude? Now we are sure about the direction through this vector analysis. Concept, this part was concept building. Now what will be the magnitude of electric field at this point. At this point, we are talking about this point. And student, this all material I have taken from NCERT, each and every point. So NCERT is very nice book. First cover syllabus through NCERT, then pick up any other book. So now, for that, similarly, one point will be on this side, up at same distance, like P, opposite to P, one point is there because symmetry is cylindrical. So we draw a cylinder of radius R around this infinitely charged wire, and length of the cylinder is L. Small n is the length. So now we have surface. This dotted surface is called Gaussian surface. To apply the Gauss theorem, we need a Gaussian surface. And surface should be symmetric. And here we have seen that symmetry is cylindrical. So we have drawn a cylindrical Gaussian surface, imaginary surface, passing through the point P, where we wish to calculate the electric field. What next? P. This is R. Distance of P from the axis of this wire is R. We know electric field is outward. This red line, red vector, red arrow gives the direction of electric field at this point. This electric field is outward. We have practiced to assign a unit vector also. This green is a unit vector R cap along electric field intensity E. Now see again, come to this figure. This is another segment joining the line. This will produce field in this direction. This is another segment at same distance. This is a line joining this segment and point. This will produce electric field in this direction. So these two segments are producing electric field. What will be the net electric field? See this here. A small arrow will take place, will appear. This is what? This is the net of this blue green. So again, see, all the elements are producing field at point P, but all fields are in same direction. So what will be the net field? Capital E. This capital is sum of all such electric fields produced by these small elements. So at any case, if you take another pair, one more pair, discuss about one more pair, you will find the same result. All electric fields at this point P are in one direction, that is perpendicular to the electric wire. So this is very interesting. This figure gives whole concept of the direction. So whatever point you take on this cylinder, on this Gaussian surface, if you suppose you take point here, what will be the electric field? Again in this direction. And wire is infinitely long. So here one thing is blinking on the screen. See here, you can see it is blinking. I am focusing again. We are discussing this case when lambda is greater than 0. What is lambda? Lambda is charge density. Greater than 0 means this Q is positive. charge q is positive, and field is outward, radial and outward. You pick any point. Suppose you pick one point here, field will be in this direction. Take one point here, field will be in this direction, radial. So nature of field is radial, outward. We are discussing case when this charge on the infinitely long wire is positive. This thing is blinking on your screen. So if lambda is 0, then field will be again radial but inward. Now these vectors will reverse their direction. Result will be in this direction. Net electric field will be in this direction if charge density is negative. So this is the discussion of diagram given in the NCERT. So students, I have prepared these slides. These are not just slides. These involve some method of teaching, method of giving you the knowledge. Some method is behind it, not just a slide. And you can review it anytime. You can watch these lectures at any time. I am creating these lectures for your benefit. So let us move forward. Again, we have to find the magnitude which is left yet. So to calculate electric field, imagine a cylindrical Gaussian surface. We have imagined it. For lambda greater than 0, we have done it. Same, I have taken same figure, same thing. This is the Gaussian surface, okay, of length L, cylinder of length. This surface is S1. Now new term has come. This curved surface is S1. Or you can say this curved surface has area S1. This is another surface, circular in nature but plane surface, having area S2. This is third surface, again circular, plane, not curved, having area S3. So we have three surfaces S1, S2, S3 having total areas S1, S2, S3. You can say again this is the area vector at point P perpendicularly outward. This is electric field with black arrow. This red vector is area vector. This black vector is electric field intensity at point P. This is the unit vector at point P and cap. Now C, perpendicular drawn at this point is area vector ds1 E. All are in same direction at point P. What does it mean? It means theta is 0. In formula, phi is equal to E ds E delta s cos theta, theta is 0. Therefore, cos 0, 1. What will be the flux? You know now. This will be only product of E and ds. Or you can say product of electric field intensity and area. This curved area. What about these two surfaces? How much flux they will contribute? Now see, now this Gaussian surface encloses some charge inside it. So definitely there will be flux. But in that case, there was no charge inside. Then flux was 0 in that case. So we again take electric field in this direction. At this surface, direction of electric field is from left to right perpendicular to the charged wire, infinitely long charged wire. Electric field is at this point, this is outward. And this is ds3, area vector at this point. Area vector is always perpendicular and unit vector also and cap. Now what is the angle between E and DS3? Here, this is 90. So it means this S3 surface does not contribute in producing electric flux. They take this surface S2. Again, electric field lines are parallel. You can say electric field is parallel. When electric field is parallel, no electric flux is linked or associated with the surface. Here we draw a ds2, area vector perpendicular to the surface outward. This is unit vector. Situation is very clear. Again, theta is 90. And in d ds cos theta, theta is 90, flux is 0. So now what is the situation here? Only this curved surface contribute in producing net electric flux. These two surfaces are not contributing. So what is the total flux linked with this cylindrical Gaussian surface? So I have already cleared you. S2 and S3 do not contribute making the flux. Only S1 is left. So now here in this case, this is normal. All these parameters I have explained you which are written in this paragraph. Now what is the area of this curved surface? 2 pi RL. R is the radius, L is the length, 2 pi RL is the total surface. Electric field is E. So what will be the flux? Flux will be through cylindrical surface only will be considered. This is phi is equal to E into area S1. E into S1. Theta is 0. So cos theta, cos 0, 1, I have not written here. Direct result is here. This is the flux. You can understood in this way also. Phi is equal to E S1 cos theta. And cos theta is 1 because theta is 0. S1 is area, curved surface area. So this is the ES1, S1 is 2 pi RL and E is value of electric field at this point which we have to find. Now we have mathematical equation. Now things are very easy. We can calculate now E. Till now we have not applied the Gauss law. Let us apply. Let us apply. Remember why we are getting phi is equal to E into 2 pi RL because of this. Now this is Gauss law. Phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught or summation Q by epsilon naught. This is Gauss law. Mathematical statement of Gauss law. We have applied now. Phi is E into 2 pi RL, left hand side. Q by epsilon naught. And what is Q total charge on this length? Total charge will be. What is lambda? Lambda is equal to Q by L. So Q will be lambda into L. Now see L gets cancelled. E is equal to lambda upon this 2 pi on right hand side, lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught R. This is a scalar form. In vector form, unit vector we have already, n cap. We place n cap here. This statement will become vector notation. So now things are totally transparent. Concept is totally transparent. No point is there which will create any doubt in your mind. Why? How? What is the procedure? All things I have cleared. So how much is the electric field at point P is lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught R n cap. Now see E at this point depends upon R and lambda only, not the length of the wire. Lambda. E is directly proportional to lambda and inversely proportional to the R. As you move away from this wire, electric field decrease. E inversely proportional to R. But in case of point charge, E was inversely proportional to R square. So here decrease is not as sharp as in this case of as in the case of the point charge. So dear student, this is the completion of this module. I have tried to explain each and every point with clarity and covering the NCERT. The basic objective of these lectures is to cover the NCERT point to point so that the student at their home during this locked period get the advantage of understanding the concept. Dear students, this of my lecture is moderate. I have kept it for all categories of the students. If you think little bit more pace is required, you can take the advantage of YouTube facility. In setting, you can change the speed from normal to 1.25. You will enjoy at that speed also. So thank you very much for showing your interest in my previous lecture videos. This is again the series, my lecture video covering NCERT and helping you at your places. So in last, don't forget to subscribe and like, share and help the community during this lockdown period. So till my next video, bye bye, take care, best of luck. Thank you very much.